Flashlights slice through the darkness, their beams dancing across our tent like searchlights. It's 2:14 a.m., and I'm frozen inside my sleeping bag, heart pounding, as hushed voices whisper outside. I'm 11, camping in my best friend's backyard in rural Northern California, a place where the nearest neighbor is a mile away, hidden by pines and fog. The whispers grow sharper, urgent, and Zoe's hand grips mine, her breath shaky. Ava, someone's out there. Someone's watching us, and we're alone. This one night, we were staying in a tent in the backyard. Zoe's house is a sprawling old place surrounded by fields and a rickety barn. The kind of spot where stars burn bright, but the dark feels alive. Her parents, Clara and Tom, are free-spirited types, patchouli-scented, vegan, always laughing. They let us sleep outside, saying it's an adventure. We were in the tent, and it was the middle of the night when Zoe shook me awake and whispered, "There's someone in the driveway." I rub my eyes, thinking she's joking, but her face is pale, her finger pointing to the tent flap. I crawl forward, peering out, and my breath catches. Shadows move in the moonlight, creeping toward the house. The air's thick with summer heat, but I'm cold, my skin prickling. Zoe's parents are inside, probably asleep, and we're just kids in a flimsy tent. The flashlights flicker closer, and I hear boots crunching on gravel. This isn't a prank. This isn't a game. Something's wrong, and we're trapped in the open with nowhere to run. I stare through the tent flap, my heart hammering. I looked and saw a bunch of people creeping up her driveway. They're tall, silent, moving like ghosts in the moonlight. I count at least a dozen, their shapes blurring into the darkness. Zoe's trembling, her voice a hiss. What do we do? I want to say run, but where? The house is too far, and the barn's locked. The flashlights sweep closer, and I hear a low murmur, orders clipped and urgent. My mind races. Are they robbers? Something worse? It was one of the scariest moments of my life because there was absolutely nothing we could do but keep as quiet as possible. I pull Zoe down, whispering, "Stay still." My hands shake, clutching the sleeping bag as the figures fan out. Some circling the house, others heading toward the barn. I think of Clara and Tom asleep inside, unaware. Should we warn them? But moving means being seen. The air's heavy, the night pressing against us, and every crunch of gravel feels like a countdown. Zoe's eyes are wide, her breath fast. "They're not normal people," she whispers. I nod, my throat tight. Normal people don't sneak around. At 2 a.m. with flashlights. I remember stories from school. Drug busts, raids, things that happen in cities, not here. But Zoe's parents are quirky, always dodging questions about their gardening in the barn. My stomach knots. Is this about them? A beam grazes the tent and we duck, hearts in our throats. The voices are clearer now. Check the perimeter. Secure the exits. My blood runs cold. This isn't random. They're organized, purposeful. I fumble for my phone, but there's no signal out here. No way to call for help. Zoe's hand tightens on mine, and I know she's thinking the same thing. We're caught in something bigger than us, something we don't understand. The flashlights are closer now, their beams slicing through the tent's thin walls. Zoe's shaking, her eyes pleading. I want to tell her it's okay, but my mouth's dry, my heart pounding. In a move you could call real brave or real stupid, Zoe just ran out of the tent shouting, "Get away from my house." And then, "Mom, Dad, call the cops." Her voice cracks the night shrill and defiant. I freeze, expecting chaos, but the flashlights snap on, blinding us. Voices shout, "Sheriff's Department, show me your hands." As soon as she started screaming, a bunch of flashlights burst into life, and it was clear they were cops. I crawl out, hands raised, my legs like jelly. Zoe's standing, fists clenched, as officers swarm the yard, their badges glinting. Jesus, they're just kids, one cop yells, lowering his gun. But the others don't stop. They bash the front door, boots pounding, while more fan toward the barn. I grab Zoe's hand, her face pale, tears streaming. What's happening, she whispers, but I don't know. The cops started dragging Zoe's mom and dad out of the house and arresting them. Clara's crying, her hair wild as they cuff her. Tom's shouting, "You've got it wrong!" But the cops shove them into a van. Zoe lunges forward, screaming, "Let them go!" A female officer restrains her, gentle but firm. "Stay back, kid." I'm shaking, the world tilting. These are Zoe's parents, kind, weird, not criminals. But the cops' faces are hard, their radios crackling with orders. I hear snippets. Narcotics. Barn. Months of surveillance. My stomach drops. The barn. Zoe always said it was off limits. A private project. The flashlights in the barn flicker, and I glimpse crates, plants, things I don't understand. This isn't just a bust, it's a betrayal. A secret Zoe's parents kept from us all. The cops drive me home, their sirens off but lights flashing. Zoe's taken to her aunt's, her face blank as they pull her away. After that, the cops drove me back home. I think they took Zoe to her grandma's or her aunt's. My parents are waiting, their faces pale, hugging me tight. It was definitely one of the scariest times of my life. I can't sleep, replaying the flashlights, Zoe's screams, Clara and Tom in cuffs. They were like second parents, always baking cookies, telling stories. How could they be criminals? A few days later, we found out that Zoe's mom and dad had been growing something they shouldn't have in one of their barns. They were sent off to prison for a few years. The news spreads like wildfire. Our small town buzzes with gossip, kids at school whispering about the drug house. I overhear Mom talking to Dad. They were supplying half the county. I feel sick. Zoe's gone, living with her aunt 2 towns over, and I can't reach her. No phone, no address. The guilt gnaws at me. Did I miss the signs? I avoid the park where we used to play, the fields where we ran. Every creak in the house makes me jump, expecting flashlights, shouts. Weeks later, I find a note slipped under my door, scribbled in Zoe's handwriting. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." My throat tightens. Was she apologizing for her parents, for leaving? I keep the note hidden, unable to face it. The memory of that night is a scar, raw and aching, changing how I see trust, friendship, safety. Years pass, but the night in the tent never fades. I'm 15 now, but the memory lingers. Flashlights, shouts, Zoe's face as they took her away. Star had to go live with their relatives because her parents were sent off to prison for a few years. I haven't seen her since, though I hear she's in high school somewhere upstate. The town moved on, but I can't. I avoid sleepovers, flinch at sirens, and check the locks before bed. That night taught me trust is fragile and secrets can destroy. One day I'm cleaning my room and find Zoe's note, yellowed and creased. Under it, tucked in a drawer, is something I didn't notice before. A small leather-bound notebook, its pages filled with numbers, addresses, and coded words. My stomach drops. It's not mine. Did Zoe leave it? I flip through, finding a name, circled R. Vega. My hands shake. Was this her parents, a ledger, a plan? I search online, finding a news report. R. Vega, suspected drug trafficker linked to Northern California network, still at large. My breath catches. Were Clara and Tom working for someone bigger? I take the notebook to Mom, who calls the sheriff. They question me, their faces grim, but say it's not enough to reopen the case. Old evidence, they call it. But the notebook feels alive, a ticking bomb. I start noticing things. A strange car parked down the street. A man in a cap watching our house from the corner. I tell myself it's paranoia, but my gut says otherwise. What if Vega knows about the notebook? What if he's looking for it? Months later, a new post on a local crime forum chills me. Strange activity near Old Miller Farm. White SUV, men in suits digging in the barn. The Miller Farm? Zoe's house abandoned since the raid. My heart races. Are they cops or Vega's people cleaning up loose ends? I don't tell Mom, but I keep the notebook hidden, my door locked. Zoe's note haunts me. I didn't know. Did she know more than she said? Was she protecting me? The fear never leaves. I see flashlights in every shadow, hear boots in every creak. Zoe's gone, her parents locked away, but the notebook, the SUV, the name Vega, they're my reminder. Some secrets don't stay buried. Was that night just a bust or the start of something bigger? I'll never know. But in a world where trust can shatter in a single night, I'm always watching, waiting for the next beam of light. A child's bike lies abandoned in the grass, its wheels still spinning, while a white van idles nearby, its engine humming like a predator's growl. 30 seconds ago, your friend was there laughing. Now he's gone, and that van is all you. See? My name's Noah, and at 10 years old I witnessed something that branded fear into my soul. A moment that tied me to a mystery I'm still unraveling. One glimpse of that van changed everything, and years later, it's back hunting me. For privacy, I'm keeping details vague. No real names or places. I grew up in a popular suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, in a house on a quiet street just off the neighborhood's main road. Life was simple. Ride bikes, play at the park, dodge homework. One day I was home alone and decided to go to the local park around 4 p.m. My best friend Jake was there kicking a ball in the field. I noticed a white van cruising down the main road, which I thought was strange but figured it was a construction worker. Our neighborhood was still growing, so vans weren't rare. I took my usual path through a side street and cul-de-sac to the park. Jake and I messed around for an hour, racing bikes, talking superheroes. Then I realized I'd forgotten my Spider-Man water bottle. A big deal to a kid. I went back to get it, leaving Jake in the field. That's when it happened. The moment. That haunts me. I sprinted back to the park, maybe 30 seconds gone, but the field was empty. Jake was nowhere to be seen. My eyes locked on his bike, tipped over in the grass, one wheel spinning lazily. Then I saw the white van parked on the side of the road near the playground. Its engine was running, the side door slightly ajar. My heart sank as I saw Jake's bike lying on the ground with one wheel still turning. I froze, a 10-year-old's, mind racing with panic. Was Jake inside? Had someone taken him? I was pretty sure the driver saw me. Fear choked me, but I didn't call out. Instead, I turned and sped home on my bike, booking it as fast as I could. At home, I hid my bike behind the fence, not wanting it visible. I rushed inside, locked the door, covered in sweat. My parents weren't back yet, so I was alone, heart pounding. I peered through the peephole and saw the white van slowly driving past my street, then out of sight. My legs shook. Was it following me? I called my mom, sobbing, but she thought I was overreacting. Jake probably just went home, she said. I called Jake's house. No answer. The police were my next call, but they were skeptical. Kids wander off, they said, promising to check. Hours later, Jake's parents reported him missing. The van was gone, no trace, no license plate. I told the cops what I saw, but they found nothing. No witnesses, no Jake. That night I couldn't sleep, replaying the spinning wheel, the van's open door. I felt guilty, like I should have stayed, shouted, done something. The next day, the neighborhood buzzed with rumors. Abduction, runaway, accident. Jake's face was on flyers, his bike still at the park, cordoned off by police tape. I kept seeing that van in my mind, its white paint seared into my memory. Days turned to weeks, and Jake stayed gone. I never saw him or that white van again. After that day, the police investigation fizzled. No leads, no suspects. Jake's parents moved away, their house a silent reminder of loss. I was a kid, but the guilt crushed me. I still feel like I would have heard about it if something big happened. Had I imagined the danger? Was the van just a delivery guy and Jake ran off? My mind wrestled with doubts, but my gut said otherwise. I don't know what happened to Jake because I never saw him after that day. Years passed, but the memory clung, like a shadow. Now 25, I'd moved to a new city trying to leave that day behind. But the past doesn't let go. One night, driving home from work, I saw it. A white van, same boxy shape, parked at a gas station. My heart stopped. Was it the same one? I noted the plate, hands shaking, and called the police. They ran it, registered to a local plumber. No record. Just a coincidence, they said. But I wasn't convinced. I started noticing white vans everywhere. On my street, near my job, always different plates, always fleeting. Paranoia? Maybe. But then I found a note on my windshield. You saw too much. No signature, just jagged letters. I installed a dash cam, started carrying pepper spray, and avoided the park where Jake vanished. The notes kept coming. I know what you know. Stop looking. I reported them, but the cops were as useless as before. No prints, no leads. A friend, Sarah, suggested I was stressed, seeing patterns where none existed. But Sarah didn't see Jake's bike, didn't feel that van's presence. I dug online, scouring old news about Jake's case. A forum mentioned similar vans linked to missing kids in nearby towns, but no arrests. Was I next? The fear became a cage, locking me in a cycle of dread. One night I spotted the van again, this time outside my apartment, idling under a streetlight. I was covered head to toe in sweat, my heart racing. I grabbed my phone, recording through my window. The driver's face was hidden, but the van matched my memory. White, boxy, with a dented bumper. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, the van was gone. They found a fresh cigarette butt where it had parked, still warm. Probably nothing, they said, but I knew better. I was sure I was being watched. I set a trap. I parked my car in a lot with clear camera coverage, left a fake note on my dash. I know who you are. The next night, my dash cam caught it. The van, circling my car, the driver leaning out to read the note. I sent the footage to the police, who traced the plate to a stolen vehicle, abandoned in a junkyard. Inside, they found photos of me, recent ones, taken from a distance. My stomach churned. Someone had been stalking me, maybe since Jake. The cops questioned a suspect, a man with a vague connection to the junkyard, but he denied everything, and they let him go. His eyes, though, in the mugshot, cold, familiar, like the driver I'd imagined as a kid. Then a final note arrived, slipped under my door. You can't prove it. I moved the next day, but the terror followed. The police hit a dead end, but I found something online. A grainy photo from Jake's case, showing a white van in the background. The same dented bumper. My blood ran cold. Was the stalker tied to Jake's disappearance, or was I chasing ghosts? I'm in a new city now, but the van's shadow looms. I still check my locks, my windows every night. The police closed Jake's case years ago, and my stalker's trail is cold, but I'm not free. I see white vans in parking lots, on highways, each one a jolt of fear. I don't know if I'll ever feel safe again. Sarah texts me, urging me to let go, but she doesn't understand. Jake's gone, and I'm marked. That white van changed how I see the world. I used to think kids were untouchable, that bad things happened to someone else. Now I know danger doesn't care how old you are. The lesson here is to always be aware of your surroundings. Trust your gut even when you're young. If I'd stayed with Jake, maybe he'd be here. If I'd acted faster, maybe I'd have answers. I carry a taser now, avoid empty parks, and never ignore a strange vehicle. If you see something wrong, don't wait, run. Scream, fight. The truth might be closer than you think, and it might be watching you. I'm sitting alone at a bus stop, the evening chill settling in, when an old man approaches, his hands glinting in the streetlight's glow. His fingernails are bright gold, shimmering like polished metal, and his eyes pierce mine with unsettling focus. He mutters something strange, a cryptic whisper. "The shadow claims you now." Then he grabs my hand, his golden nails biting into my skin, leaving a sting that feels wrong. I pull away, heart racing, but his words linger, cold and, heavy. This isn't just a random encounter. It's the spark of a chilling mystery that will haunt my every step. Who was he, and what did he do to me? Those golden nails marked me, and I fear the shadow he spoke of is closer than I know, waiting to strike. I'd been living in a small coastal town in Washington for 2 years, a place where the ocean's hum was the loudest thing most nights. I was a barista at a local coffee shop, a job that kept me busy but left room for quiet evenings like this one. That night, I'd finished my shift and missed the early bus, so I was waiting at the stop near the town square, scrolling through my phone to pass the time. The street was empty, the air crisp, and I was lost in thought when I felt a presence. An old man, frail and stooped, shuffled toward me, his fingernails golden, catching the streetlight like tiny beacons. They were unnaturally bright, almost glowing, and I couldn't tear my eyes away. He stopped a few feet from the bench, his gaze locked on me, sharp and unnerving. My stomach tightened. Something about him felt off, dangerous. He spoke, his voice, low and strange, saying, "The shadow claims you now." The words sent a shiver down my spine, their meaning unclear but heavy with menace. I gripped my phone, ready to call for help. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice trembling. He didn't answer, just stepped closer, his golden nails glinting as he reached out. He grabbed my hand, his grip cold and firm, those nails digging into my skin, leaving sharp, stinging scratches. I yanked free, my heart pounding, and shouted, "Get away from me!" He stared, unblinking, then turned and shuffled into the darkness, vanishing down an alley. I sat there frozen, my hand burning where he'd touched me. The old man's cryptic words and his invasive touch left me shaken, a deep unease settling in my chest. I checked my hand, red welts from his nails, not bleeding but sore, like they'd left more than just marks. His golden nails and those eerie words echoed in my mind, making the quiet street feel threatening. Was he crazy? Or was there intent behind his actions? I looked around, half expecting him to reappear, but the night was empty. The bus arrived and I boarded, my nerves frayed, unable to shake the feeling that I'd been targeted. At home, I couldn't relax. The old man's strange muttering and his touch clung to me, a constant reminder of the encounter. I scrubbed my hand, but the scratches still stung, faint but persistent. I called my friend Lila, needing to vent. I told her about the old man with the golden nails, his unsettling words, and how he'd grabbed my hand, leaving marks. "That's beyond creepy," she said, her voice tense. "You need to tell the cops." I wasn't sure what to say. A weird guy at a bus stop? But the scratches and his words felt like a warning, not a coincidence. What had he meant by, "the shadow claims you"? I went to the police station the next morning, feeling a bit silly. Officer Reed took my statement, jotting down my description of the old man with the golden nails, his cryptic words, and his aggressive touch. "Sounds like a transient," Reed said, but his frown told me he was concerned. "We'll look for him, but without a name, it's tough." I mentioned the scratches and he photographed them, noting their odd, precise shape. "Keep us posted if you see him again," he said. I left frustrated, the welts on my hand throbbing, a nagging sense that this wasn't over. The encounter consumed me. I couldn't work, couldn't sleep, my eyes darting to every shadow. The old man's golden nails and his chilling words replayed in my head, each memory sharper than the last. I searched online for anything about golden fingernails or strange old men in town, but found only fashion blogs and nail art tutorials. Then I noticed something. A faint mark on my hand, like a bruise forming around the scratches. It wasn't normal. I started seeing things out of place. My apartment door slightly ajar, a strange voicemail with just static. Was the old man's touch a signal for something worse? I called my cousin Finn, who'd grown up in this town and knew its quirks. I told him about the old man with the golden nails, his bizarre words, and how he'd grabbed my hand, leaving scratches that wouldn't heal. "That sounds like old Gideon," Finn said, his voice low. "Folks used to talk about a guy like that years ago. Said he marked people with his nails, claimed it tied them to some curse. People laughed it off, but some went missing." My heart sank. Was Gideon real or a legend? Finn promised to ask his dad, who'd lived here forever, but the story chilled me. Had Gideon marked me for a reason? I installed a security camera outside my apartment, pointing at the entrance. That night, it caught a figure lingering near my door, hooded, gone before I could see his face. My hand burned, the bruise darkening. I showed the footage to Reed, who said it wasn't enough to act on. "Could be a kid," he said, but I knew better. The old man's words and his touch had triggered this, and someone was stalking me. I went to the bus stop, hoping to find him, needing answers. No sign of the old man, but a street vendor, Clara, recognized my description. "That's Gideon," she said. "Hangs out at the old pier, muttering about shadows. Seen him with a younger guy, bad news." My pulse raced. A accomplice? I drove to the pier, a rotting structure by the sea. It was empty, but I found golden scratches on a post, like claw marks. My hand throbbed, the bruise now a faint symbol, almost like a rune. I called Finn, who'd found an old photo. Gideon, decades ago, his golden nails gleaming. "Dad says he was a cult nut," Finn said. "Marked people for some ritual." My fear spiked. Was I part of Gideon's plan? I set a trap with Finn, wait at the bus stop, camera ready, and bait him out. That night, a younger man approached. Not Gideon, but his eyes were the same, cold, knowing. "You're marked," he said, echoing Gideon. I sprayed pepper spray, shouting, "Stay back!" He fled, but I got his face on tape. The police arrested him. Silas, a drifter with a rap sheet for extortion. He said Gideon was his prophet, marking people for a shadow order. Silas got 2 years, but Gideon was gone, a ghost. I moved, changed my locks, but the bruise on my hand lingers, a faint scar. Last week, a text from an unknown number. "The shadow sees." I deleted it, but the fear remains. Gideon's out there, and I'm still marked. The screech of a van's sliding door pierced the quiet, and a voice barked, "Get in!" My heart stopped, legs pumping as I realized I was prey. At 13, I thought my Sacramento suburb was a safe haven, until that day. My name's Ryan, a quiet kid who loved nothing more than biking through my neighborhood's sunny streets. As a background, I grew up in the suburbs of Sacramento, California, in an area that was very middle class, in a place where it always felt safe. As a kid, I would walk home from school with the neighbors. We would play hide-and-go-seek basketball on the streets, etc. And we never had any strange encounters. During the weekends when I was a teenager, I would ride my bike for hours at a time and ride around a 10-block radius from where my house was in Sacramento. Saturdays were my escape, the wind in my face, my bike's speedometer ticking between 12 and 16 miles per hour as I cruised the bike lane, free from the grind of school or the monotony of chores. The neighborhood was my kingdom. Tidy lawns, kids playing tag, neighbors waving from porches, a place where danger felt like a story from somewhere else. That spring afternoon, the sky was a perfect blue, the air warm with the promise of summer. I was weaving through familiar streets, past the corner store where I'd buy sodas, past the park where I'd shoot hoops with friends. The rhythm of my pedals was steady, my mind drifting to comic books and weekend plans, when a low, guttural rumble snapped me alert. I vividly remember one time when I was 13 years old and riding my bike in the neighborhood. I had a speedometer on my bike, and I always traveled around 12 to 16 miles per hour, and the right-hand side bike lane of the street while I was cruising. My bike, a windowless white van, pulled up next to me on my left and matched my speed. The right side door slid open, and there were two guys in the back and one guy driving. I look over and the van got uncomfortably close to me, and one of the guys said quite loudly, "Get in the van." The van was old, its paint chipped and peeling. No logos or markings, just a blank, menacing shell rolling alongside me. My stomach dropped as the side door slid open with a metallic screech, revealing two men in the back, their faces shadowed under baseball caps. One leaning forward with a grin that wasn't friendly, his eyes glinting with something dark. The driver kept pace, the van inching closer, its tires humming against the asphalt, crowding me toward the curb. I gripped my handlebars, my breath shallow, every instinct screaming danger. Who were these men, and why were they after me? I didn't think. My legs took over, pumping harder, pushing my bike to its limit. I didn't reply, but started pedaling faster and reached about 18 miles per hour, which I know isn't very fast compared to a van, and isn't going to get away from the van, but it seemed like the right thing to do. At the time, the van accelerated to match my speed, and I looked over at them. The van was weird on the inside. I remember seeing no seats in the back, the two guys were not seatbelted in. I remember seeing the metal flooring of the van and some rope. The guy beckoned maybe in more of an insisting tone to get inside his van. He reached out since I was within arm's distance at this time. The van's interior was stark, chilling. No seats, just a cold metal floor littered with coils of thick, weathered rope, glinting under the dim light filtering through the open door. The man in the back leaned out, his arm extended, fingers brushing the air inches from my shoulder, close enough that I felt the heat of his reach. His voice was sharper now, a command laced with menace. "Get in, kid." My heart slammed against my ribs, fear drowning out the world. The hum of the van, the rush of wind, the pounding of my own pulse, the rope, the empty van, the men's. They weren't here to talk. The road ahead split at an intersection, and I acted on pure instinct. We were traveling straight, but literally just as he was reaching out, the road we were on intersected with another street that I instinctively turned a hard right on, till they were forced to keep going straight. Otherwise, they would have flipped the van to follow me. I knew the area well and started weaving in between the residential streets that consisted of lots of curved roads that looped and resembled a maze. I swerved right, my tires screeching, my bike wobbling dangerously as I leaned into the turn, nearly losing balance. The van roared past, unable to follow without crashing, its engine fading as I pedaled furiously into the maze of curving streets I knew like the back of my hand. I zigzagged through alleys, past familiar houses with swing sets and flower beds, my breath ragged, lungs burning, not daring to look back. The neighborhood, once my playground, felt like a trap, every corner hiding the van's return, every shadow a threat. I took shortcuts through backyards, ducked under low-hanging branches, my mind a blur of panic and survival. I made it home, legs trembling like jelly, and collapsed against the garage door, gasping for air. In hindsight, it was scary to be in that area because they could have easily found me, as I couldn't have seen them coming up on me because of the curved roads. But luckily, they didn't make another pass. I went home and never told anyone about it to this day. Only 2 people know about this, and now you. I didn't tell my mom, didn't call the police. Fear and shame locked my voice away. What if they came back? What if they knew where I lived? I dragged my bike into the shed, locking it tight, and avoided the streets for days, jumping at every engine's hum, every squeak of brakes. At school, I scanned the parking lot for white vans, my stomach twisting whenever one rolled by. A week earlier, I'd noticed a similar van idling near the park where I played. Its windows dark, but I'd thought nothing of it, assuming it was a worker or delivery driver. Now, it felt like a warning I'd ignored, a predator's first glance before the hunt. My best friend Kyle noticed my jitters during recess. "You okay, man?" he asked, tossing a basketball my way. I shrugged, too scared to confess, but his question gnawed at me, a reminder I was carrying this alone. I started biking with him, never venturing out solo, my eyes always darting to the road, searching for that chipped white paint. One day, flipping through the local news on our old family computer, I froze at a headline. A teen in a nearby town had gone missing, last seen near a white van. My blood ran cold, my hands shaking as I read the description. Unmarked, windowless, just like the one that chased me. Was it them? Had they found someone who couldn't escape? I wanted to tell. Someone, my mom, a teacher, the police, but fear of being dismissed or worse, targeted, kept my lips sealed. I felt trapped, the weight of that day pressing down, a secret I didn't know how to share. The weeks after the chase were a blur of fear, a shadow that clung to every corner of my life. I stuck to crowded streets, only biked with friends, but the van's image loomed large, a nightmare I couldn't shake. Every white van in Sacramento felt like a threat, its blank windows hiding those men, that rope, their cold, predatory eyes. Nowadays, I look back and wonder what they had intended to do. Were they just goofing around? Were the ropes just for belaying and rock climbing? Or did they actually have a malicious intent? Did they ever do anything to anyone else who couldn't? Get away, these questions still linger with me. I scoured the local news obsessively, my heart sinking with every report of missing kids in the area. A pattern began to emerge, teens vanishing in quiet suburbs, some linked to sightings of a white van, descriptions chillingly close to the one that chased me. I felt sick, my mind spiraling with questions. Had I escaped a fate others hadn't? Were those men still out there hunting? One night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I confided in Kyle, spilling the story in a rush as we sat on his porch, the summer air thick with the hum of crickets. His eyes widened, his usual grin gone. "Dude, you gotta tell someone," he urged, his voice low, serious. That's not normal. But I hesitated, terrified of retaliation, of those men finding me, knowing my name. What if they'd seen my face clearly? Kyle didn't let it go, showing me a forum post he'd found online about a white van spotted near schools in the county, suspected in a string of abductions. My stomach churned as I read the comments. Parents warning about unmarked vans, kids describing close calls that mirrored mine. This wasn't a prank, not some cruel joke. It was a pattern, a predator's playbook, and I'd been one of their targets. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore, not with other kids at risk. I called the police the next day, my voice shaking as I recounted the chase, the rope, the men's faces blurred by panic but vivid in my nightmares. The officer was kind but skeptical, noting my lack of concrete details. No license plate, no clear description of their features. "We'll file a report," she said, "but it's hard without more." It felt like shouting into a void, my story just another note in a file. But I'd done something, broken the silence that had choked me. The officer suggested I stay vigilant, avoid biking alone, and I nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. I was safe, but for how long? Then, few months later, a breakthrough shook me to my core. A news alert popped up on my phone. A human trafficking ring had been busted in Northern California, linked to a fleet of white vans targeting teens in suburban neighborhoods. The suspects matched my description. 2 men in the back, 1 driver, using unmarked windowless vans to snatch kids off the streets. My knees buckled as I read, the room spinning. I'd been inches from their grasp, a split-second turn saving me from a fate I couldn't imagine. The police called, asking for another statement, confirming my report had helped connect dots in their investigation, but they delivered a chilling warning. Some suspects were still at large, slipping through the cracks of the raid. "Stay cautious," the officer said, her voice tight. Fear surged anew, a cold dread that hadn't left me since that day. Had they seen my face clearly enough to remember? Did they know my name, my street? I stopped biking alone, my freedom stolen by that afternoon's terror. My mom noticed my anxiety, the way I flinched at car horns, the way I'd checked the locks twice before bed. She pressed for answers, her eyes soft with worry, but I only told her fragments, afraid to burden her with the full weight of my fear. The neighborhood, once my safe haven where I'd played without a care, felt like a hunting ground. Every corner a potential trap, every passing van a reminder of how close I'd come to vanishing. I kept my story secret, carrying the weight, alone, haunted by the what-ifs. If I hadn't turned, if I'd been slower, if they'd caught me. Those ropes, that empty van, became the stuff of nightmares, a constant echo of a danger I'd barely escaped. The van chase stole my childhood's ease, leaving scars that linger long after the tires stop screeching. I'm 20 now, a college student studying computer science in a new city, but I don't bike alone anymore. And the sight of a white van still sends my pulse racing, my body bracing for flight. Nowadays, I look back and wonder what they had intended to do. Did they ever do anything to anyone else who couldn't get away? These questions still linger with me. I shared my story with my mom years later, sitting at our kitchen table, my voice breaking as I recounted that day. Her face paled, her hands trembling as she hugged me tight, tears in her eyes. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered, her voice thick with guilt for not knowing, for not protecting me. I wished I had told her sooner, wished I'd broken the silence that fear had wrapped around me. But as a scared 13-year-old, I thought keeping quiet would keep me safe. Now, I know better, and I speak out, hoping my story can save others from the shadows I faced. I joined a campus group raising awareness about child safety, volunteering at community centers to teach kids how to recognize danger, to trust their instincts to run, to tell someone they trust. I share my story in workshops, my voice steady now, urging young teens to stay alert, to know their surroundings, to never ignore that gut feeling that screams danger. Online, I posted my experience anonymously on a forum for parents and community leaders, warning about unmarked vans, urging vigilance in neighborhoods that feel safe but aren't. The responses poured in, a flood of stories that chilled me. Other kids who'd seen similar vans, some who'd narrowly escaped encounters with strangers in unmarked vehicles, their descriptions eerily close to mine. It wasn't just Sacramento. It was cities across California, across the country. A network of predators exploiting the trust of quiet suburbs. I started a blog, sharing practical safety tips. Stay in groups, know your routes, carry a whistle, report anything suspicious. To the police. It's my way of fighting back, turning that day's terror into action, ensuring other kids don't face what I did. The trafficking ring's leaders were never caught, and that knowledge haunts me like a ghost. I check news articles obsessively, scouring for updates on arrests, dreading the day I'll read about another white van, another missing kid. The fear that those men, or others like them, are still out there, still hunting, keeps me awake. Some nights my mind replaying that chase, the rope, the hand reaching for me. I've learned to live with it, to channel it into purpose, but the innocence of my childhood is gone, replaced by a vigilance I'll never shed. I kept my story secret for too long, letting fear silence me but no more. If you see something wrong, feel something off, speak up. Trust your gut, tell someone, act. It might save you or someone else from the predators hiding in plain sight. The streets aren't as safe as they seem, and silence only makes them stronger. Under the flickering streetlights of a deserted Miami office park, I stumbled upon a scene that froze my blood. A man, cloaked in shadows, hunched over an electrical box, his movements quick and furtive. I was walking late at night near an office complex when I saw a man tampering with an electrical box behind a building. He was acting suspicious, checking over his shoulder, as if the night itself was watching. My heart thudded as I ducked behind a dumpster, the air thick with secrets. What was he hiding? Was this a prank, a theft, or something far darker? I felt uneasy, watching from a distance, knowing I'd seen something I wasn't meant to. This isn't just a tale of a late-night walk. It's a dive into a dangerous mystery that unraveled my world. Hold on tight, because the truth is electrifying. My name's Miles, a 30-year-old delivery driver navigating Miami's neon-lit nights to make ends meet. I often took shortcuts through the office park near my apartment, a maze of glass buildings, and empty lots that felt safe under the city's glow. I was walking late at night near an office complex, my shift done, earbuds blasting music to drown out the day's noise. But something about that night felt wrong. I felt uneasy, watching. From a distance a week earlier, when I'd seen a flicker of movement near the same building, a figure vanishing before I could focus. I'd brushed it off as fatigue, but now, spotting a man tampering with an electrical box behind a building, he was acting suspicious, checking over his shoulder. I knew it was no coincidence. The office park wasn't immune to trouble. Vandalism, petty thefts, even rumors of corporate espionage among the tech firms housed there. My friend Jenna, a security guard at one of the buildings, had mentioned odd outages recently, lights flickering, systems crashing. I'd laughed, blaming Miami's storms, but her warnings echoed as I watched the man's gloved hands work the box, tools glinting in the dim light. Something about him seemed off. his movements too precise, too practiced for a random act. I crouched behind a dumpster, my phone recording, heart racing. Was he a thief, a saboteur, or something worse? I felt uneasy, watching from a distance. The city's hum now a distant pulse against the man's silent purpose. As a car honked nearby, he bolted when a car honked nearby, melting into the shadows, leaving the box ajar. I hesitated, then approached, my flashlight revealing cut wires sparking faintly. A screwdriver left on the ground. The air crackled with danger, and I backed away, dialing 911. I called the police, but they couldn't find him, their search cursory in the sprawling complex. Something about him seemed off, and I couldn't shake the image of those deliberate cuts, the man's paranoid glances. Jenna's words rang louder. Outages, crashes, now this. Was it connected? Be vigilant? About strange behavior, she'd said. And I was starting to see why. My shortcut home had led me into a web I wasn't ready for, and the night held secrets I had to unravel. The electrical box stood like a silent witness, its cut wires glinting under my flashlight's beam. My breath caught as I backed away. The screwdriver's cold steel, a stark reminder of the man's intent. I checked the box and found cut wires, the damage precise, not random vandalism. A screwdriver was left on the ground, its handle worn, abandoned in haste. I can't stop wondering what he was doing. The question a pulse in my mind, each spark from the wires a warning. I scanned the shadows, expecting the man to reappear, but the office park was eerily still. The honk that spooked him long gone. It felt like something bigger, a plan I'd stumbled into, and my gut screamed to dig deeper. I called Jenna, her voice tense when I described the scene. "Miles, that's no prank," she said, mentioning a spike in outages crippling her building's servers, costing millions. She'd seen a similar figure lurking weeks ago, never close enough to identify. I called the police, but they couldn't find him. Their patrol car circling once before leaving. The box's damage noted, but no suspect found. The area had a power outage later, plunging the complex into darkness, phones buzzing with alerts from nearby firms. I think it was connected to what I saw, the timing too perfect, the man's actions too deliberate. I sent my phone's video to Jenna, who forwarded it to her boss, but the grainy footage showed only a hooded shape, no face. Back home, I couldn't sleep, the man's paranoid glances haunting me. I can't stop wondering what he was doing, his gloved hands replaying in my mind. I checked the news. Outages were hitting tech hubs across Miami, whispers of sabotage leaking online. I returned to the office park the next night, flashlight in hand, heart pounding. The box was sealed, but I found a faint boot print in the dirt, a match to one I'd seen near another building days before. It felt like something bigger, a coordinated effort, and I was the only witness. Jenna met me, her security badge gleaming, and we searched the alley, finding a discarded keycard, its logo tied to a tech firm in the complex, Vance Innovations. Jenna's boss confirmed Vance had been hit hardest by outages, their servers fried, contracts lost. The keycard was a low-level employee's, but it was reported stolen weeks ago. I called the police, but they couldn't find him, the keycard a dead end without prints. My unease grew. Someone was targeting Vance, and I'd seen their operative. I think it was connected to what I saw, the outages a symptom of a larger scheme. I installed a cheap camera near the box, hoping to catch the man if he returned. But the next night, it was smashed, a note taped to it. "Stop looking." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just sabotage, it was personal, and I was in too deep. The note, "Stop looking," was a blade at my throat, its scrawled threat searing into my mind. I can't stop wondering what he was doing, the man's Gloved hands now a symbol of a larger, darker game. I couldn't let it go, despite Jenna's pleas to back off. It felt like something bigger, a conspiracy weaving through Miami's tech underbelly, and I was tangled in its threads. I hid the note, fearing it would vanish like the man, and dove deeper, my nights consumed by research. I think it was connected to what I saw, the outages at Vance Innovations, no accident but a calculated strike. I scoured online forums, finding whispers of a hacker group, Black Volt, targeting tech firms for ransom. Their signature, power disruptions to cripple servers. I met Jenna at a diner, her eyes darting as she shared Vance's internal reports. Outages, traced to tampered electrical grids costing billions. The keycard linked to a disgruntled ex-employee, Leo Vance, nephew of Vance's CEO, fired for leaking data. Leo was a ghost. No recent sightings, but his name matched a Black Volt alias online. My heart sank. Was Leo the man I'd seen? I can't stop wondering what he was doing. His actions at the box, a piece of a puzzle I was desperate to solve. I found a burner phone in the alley near the box, missed by police, its call log showing a single number, traced to a warehouse in Miami's industrial district. It felt like something bigger, and I was closing in. Against Jenna's warnings, I staked out the warehouse, my car parked a block away, camera ready. At 2 a.m., I saw him, Leo, his face clear under a street light, unloading crates with two others. Their movements guarded. My phone recorded, hands shaking as they worked near a van marked with a faint Black Volt logo. I sent the footage to Jenna, who alerted her boss. But before I could leave, a figure approached my car, slamming a fist. On the hood. "You're done, kid," he growled, his face hidden. The same note's handwriting on a slip he tossed through my window. Final warning. I sped off, heart pounding, the warehouse fading in my rear view. I handed the footage to the police, who raided the warehouse, arresting 2 of Leo's crew, but missing him. They found hacked server data, tools matching the box's damage, and a list of targets. Vance at the top. I called the police, but they couldn't find him. Leo slipping through again, the note's threat now a noose. I think it was connected to what I saw, Black Volt's sabotage, a multi-million-dollar scheme, and I'd exposed it at a cost. My camera caught a new detail, a tattoo on Leo's wrist, a Volt symbol tying him to Black Volt. But the second note's author wasn't Leo, someone higher watching me. It felt like something bigger, and I was a target now, my life no longer my own. A year later, a federal task force dismantled Black Volt, arresting Leo Vance and their shadowy leader, a cybercrime kingpin named Marcus Reed. My footage, the burner, phone, and the tattoo were key, exposing a racket that extorted billions from tech giants. I testified anonymously, my voice steady as Leo's glare burned through the courtroom. He got 15 years, Marcus 25. But the note's shadow lingered. I can't stop wondering what he was doing. The question a scar from that night. I moved to a new apartment, changed my routes, but it felt like something bigger still out there, watching. Therapy helps, but vigilance is my armor. Jenna, my anchor, checking in as I rebuild. The outages stopped, Vance Innovations recovered, but I learned the cost of curiosity. Be vigilant about strange behavior, I tell others now, sharing my story with community watch groups. Report anything suspicious because I did, and it saved lives but nearly cost mine. Those cut wires weren't just sabotage. They were a fuse to a larger explosion, one I lit by looking too close. Be vigilant about strange behavior, because the smallest clue can unravel a conspiracy. I keep the screwdriver, a relic of that night. A reminder to stay sharp in a world where shadows hide motives. This isn't just a story of a chance encounter. It's a warning to act. Report anything suspicious, the flicker, the figure, the tool left behind. Trust your gut because mine led me to Black Volt's heart, but also to danger. Be vigilant about strange behavior because the world's full of Leos scheming in the dark and Marcuses pulling strings from above. But it's also full of Mileses, people, who can shine a light if they dare to look. Don't ignore the signs, don't walk past the shadows. See something, say something, and never let the night keep its secrets. Heavy footsteps echo from the basement, slow and deliberate like someone pacing in the dark. It's 4:37 p.m., and I'm standing in a decaying house in a forgotten corner of upstate New York. The air thick with a sour, musty stench that clings to my skin. I'm alone. Or I thought I was, but those steps, they're not mine. My heart slams against my ribs. I came to check out a cheap room for rent, but something's wrong. Very wrong. I'm Noah, 22, a broke college student desperate for a place I can afford. I posted an ad on Craigslist looking for a bedroom in a shared house or apartment for $300 or less. The ad I found was a steal. $300 a month, utilities included, in a house just outside town. The owner, a guy named Walter, sounded normal enough on the phone, promising a quiet place with female roommates. I drove out to the address, a sagging Victorian on a street lined with overgrown lots and a crumbling cemetery. The house blended right in. The yard was seriously overgrown, and the front door didn't work. I parked, knocked, and waited, the wind rattling the warped windows. No answer. Then those footsteps started deep below the floorboards. I call out, "Hello, Walter?" No response, just another step, heavier this time. My skin crawls. The ad said to meet at 4:30, but the place feels abandoned, the air heavy with that musty smell that hit me from 10 feet away. I push the door open, its hinges groaning, and step inside, my sneakers squeaking on warped wood. The living room's dim, furniture draped in dust, and the staircase to the basement looms like a black hole. I should leave, but $300 rent is hard to pass up. Then the footsteps stop and a voice rasps from below, "Down here!" I hesitate at the basement door, the musty smell stronger now, like wet earth and rot. "Walter?" I call again, my voice echoing. A shadow moves at the bottom of the stairs, and a man steps into view. He was leaning on a cane on his right. Imnaid. His eyes looked crazy, and the house smelled musty from 10 feet away. He's middle-aged with wild Afro-style hair, his face gaunt, his gaze sharp and unsettling, like he's sizing me up. "You, Noah?" he rasps, his voice gravelly. I nod, gripping my phone, my gut screaming to bolt. He took me up a flight of creaky steps into a small bedroom with no door and a mattress on the floor. The room's tiny, no windows, no closet, just a bare bulb flickering overhead. "This is it," Walter says, leaning on his cane. He said I'd be sharing the bathroom in the hallway with him, and his bedroom didn't have a door on it. I swallow, the air thick with that moldy stench. "Nice place," I lie, glancing at the mattress, stained and sagging. He grins, but his eyes are crazy, darting to my face, my bag, the door. He leads me upstairs, showing off other rooms. "Got 3 girls living here," he says, opening doors to empty bedrooms. There was furniture, but not a single item that looked like it belonged to a woman. No clothes or anything. The closets hold men's shirts, old boots, nothing else. My skin prickles. "Where are they?" I ask, trying to sound casual. He shrugs, his cane tapping. "Out. Work, probably." But the house feels dead. The silence heavy, broken only by the creak of the floorboards. I glance at my phone, no signal. Walter's watching me, his grin fading. "You staying for dinner?" he asks, his voice too eager. I force a smile, my heart racing. Gotta head back soon. His eyes narrow and I swear the air gets colder. This isn't just a weird landlord. Something's off, and I'm standing in the middle of it. Walter's eyes follow me as we head back downstairs, his cane tapping like a metronome. I thought no way in hell would I live with a 40-something-years-old man and no door on my bedroom. The musty smell is suffocating now, seeping from the walls, the floor, everywhere. I glance at the living room. Dusty furniture, no photos, no signs of life. I looked in all 3 rooms and the bathrooms. There was furniture but not a single item in there that looked like it belonged to a woman. Walter's claim about roommates feels like a lie, and his crazy eyes burn into me unblinking, as if he knows I'm onto him. "You sure you don't want to stay?" he asks again, leaning closer, his breath sour. I step back, my skin crawling. "Got a class soon," I say, my voice tight. He tilts his head, his grin twitching. "Smart kid, but you'll be back." The words land like a threat, his gaze locking onto mine. I notice a door under the stairs, slightly ajar, leading to the basement. A faint rustle comes from below like fabric dragging. My heart skips. Is someone down there? I edge toward the front door, my hand on my keys. "I'll call you," I lie, forcing a smile. Walter's cane taps once hard, and he steps closer, blocking my path for a moment. "You do that," he says, his voice low, almost a growl. I slip past, my pulse roaring, and practically run to my car. The house looms behind me, its windows dark like eyes watching. I start the engine, tires crunching gravel, and don't look back. I drive away, my hands shaking on the wheel. I really just wanted to leave. No way in hell would I live with a 40-something-years-old man and no door on my bedroom. I wouldn't have stayed there. The house shrinks in my rear view, but its musty smell lingers in my clothes, my hair. I keep seeing Walter's crazy eyes, his grin, the way he blocked the door. I was definitely a coward, so instead of trusting my gut, I went inside and was polite, thinking it's okay, it'll be over in 20 minutes, and I can get out. But those 20 minutes felt like a lifetime, and I know I dodged something bad. Maybe worse than bad. Back at my dorm, I check Craigslist. The ad's gone, deleted. My stomach drops. I Google the address, finding nothing but an old real estate listing. The house had been seriously run down, vacant for years. No record of Walter, no trace of tenants. I call the number from the ad, but it's disconnected. My friend Sam, who's into true crime, listens to my story and goes pale. "Dude, you were in a predator's lair. Those empty rooms? That's not normal. I can't shake the fear, the what-ifs. What was in the basement? Why no women's belongings?" I start having nightmares, Walter's cane tapping, his voice calling my name. I avoid driving by that street, but the memory of the house clings to me. Its moldy stench a ghost in my lungs. I'm safe, but I don't feel it. I escaped. But what if someone else answers an ad like that? Months later, the house still haunts me. I can't browse Craigslist without feeling that musty smell, seeing those crazy eyes. I've moved to a new apartment, but I check the locks twice, jump at every creak. That day changed me. Trust feels like a trap, and every stranger's eye a threat. I keep wondering about Walter, the empty rooms, the rustle in the basement. Was he just a creep or something worse? One night I'm scrolling through a local crime forum, and a post stops me. Abandoned house on Cemetery Road. Cops raided. Last week. Found ropes, duct tape, women's shoes in the basement. My blood runs cold. Cemetery Road. That's Walter's house. The comments are chilling. Heard a guy live there, luring people with cheap rent. Cops think he's linked to missing persons. I dig deeper, finding a news article. Unidentified male suspect, mid-50s, fled before raid. Evidence suggests criminal activity. No name, no photo, but I know it's him. I find a rusted key in my jacket pocket, one I don't remember picking. Up, it's heavy, old, with a tag scratched with B3. My hands shake. Did I take it from the house? Was it in the basement? I call the police, handing over the key, describing Walter. They're interested but vague. We'll look into it, they say, but the forum keeps buzzing. More sightings of a man matching Walter's description, offering rooms in nearby towns. My stomach churns. Is he still out there hunting? The fear never fades. I see his wild hair, his cane, in every shadowed corner. I warn friends about Craigslist, check my car's mirrors for followers. One day a new post appears. Guy with a cane seen near old cemetery asking about rentals. Be careful. My heart stops. I don't sleep that night, the keys wait. Heavy in my mind. What was Walter planning? A scam, a trap, or something darker? The house is gone, boarded up, but Walter's not. In a world where a cheap ad can lead to a monster, safety's just a lock away from breaking. The sound of breaking glass at 2 a.m. is a scream in the silence. You bolt upright, heart hammering, as a shadow flickers past your window. Not a branch, not a trick of light, but a human shape, moving with purpose. You're alone, and something's wrong. My name's Lily, and one night a shattered window and a fleeting figure turned my safe haven into a house of fear, unraveling a mystery that still stalks me. For privacy, I'm keeping names and places vague. This happened a few years ago when I was in middle school, at my best friend Megan's house. We were just kids, carefree, living for sleepovers and secrets. Megan invited me over for a sleepover during winter break of 2018. Her family was wealthy, their house a sprawling mansion that felt like a castle to me. That night, Megan's mom went out to dinner, leaving us alone. We were mature enough to handle it, or so we thought, giggling over movies and pizza. Around a couple of hours into the stay, we decided to play hide and seek. The mansion's second floor was our playground, a maze of rooms perfect for the game. I was the seeker, counting to 10, ready to find Megan. But as I searched, a sound stopped me cold, the sound of glass breaking, coming from the back of the house. My heart skipped. This wasn't part of the game. The crash echoed through the mansion, sharp and unnatural. I was halfway through searching when I heard the sound of glass breaking from the back of the house. I froze, my breath catching, the game forgotten. I casually walked over to a hallway closet that was slightly opened, thinking Megan was hiding there. But as I reached for the door, I saw the glimpse of an eye staring back at me. It wasn't Megan. I screamed at the top of my lungs as a man with messy hair and crazed eyes ran past me, down the stairs and out of the house. My legs buckled, and I collapsed, heart pounding like a drum. Megan rushed to me, her face pale. "What happened?" she gasped. I stammered about the man, the eye, the glass. She grabbed her phone, hands shaking, and called 911. We huddled in her room, barricading the door with a dresser. The mansion, once a playground, now felt like a trap, its vast halls hiding threats. Sirens wailed outside, and police arrived quickly, claiming the man had likely broken in due to the extreme snowstorm, seeking warmth. They found him hiding behind a shed in the backyard, disheveled and incoherent. Megan's parents decided not to press charges but got a restraining order. He couldn't come near the house within 500 feet. The cops said he was homeless, desperate, not dangerous. But his eyes, wild, guilty, told a different story. I couldn't shake the feeling he wasn't just looking for shelter. Megan's mom canceled the sleepover, and my parents picked me up, furious at her for leaving us alone. I didn't sleep that night, replaying that eye, the shadow through the window, wondering what he really wanted. The incident should have ended there, but it didn't. I wasn't invited back to Megan's house until my parents felt comfortable. We stayed friends, but the sleepover left a scar. I kept seeing that man's eye in my nightmares, his crazed stare burning into me. Megan and I are still friends to this day, and now work at a local supermarket. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the break-in wasn't random. The police said he was a vagrant, but why run so fast? Why hide in the shed? I started questioning everything. Had he been watching the house, waiting for Megan's mom to leave? The mansion's security was top-notch, yet he'd gotten in. How? Years later in high school, I dug into the case. I found old news articles about break-ins in wealthy neighborhoods, some linked to a man matching his description. Messy hair, wild eyes. One article mentioned stolen jewelry, another a missing pet. Nothing tied directly to our night, but the pattern unnerved me. I confided in Emma, a co-worker at the supermarket who'd grown up in a nearby town. She remembered a similar incident, a man breaking into her neighbor's house, caught but released. He had this look, she said, like he wasn't all there. I showed her a sketch I'd made from memory. Her face paled. That's him. I reported it to the police, but they said the case was closed. The man likely moved on. No leads, no follow-up. Still, I felt watched. At home, I'd catch shadows moving past my window, too quick to be sure. One night, I found a note tucked into my mailbox. "You saw me." My blood ran cold. Was it him or someone else? I installed cameras, started carrying a taser, but the fear grew, a constant weight. The notes became a twisted routine, appearing every few weeks. "I'm still here. You can't forget." I moved to a new apartment hoping to escape, but the fear followed. One night my camera caught it, a shadow lingering outside my window, too tall to be a passerby. I called the police, who found footprints in the snow, leading to an alley but no further. They dusted my mailbox for prints. Nothing. Frustration choked me, but I kept digging. I tracked down a retired cop who'd worked Megan's case. He remembered the man, called him a ghost, always slipping through cracks. He wasn't just a drifter, he said. We suspected he was casing houses, but never had proof. Then, a breakthrough. Emma found an old police report online, buried in an archive. The man, identified as John Doe, had been linked to a string of break-ins, some violent. One victim reported a man watching her house for weeks before smashing a window. The description matched. Messy hair, crazed eyes. I sent the report to the police, who reopened the case. They tracked him to a halfway house, but he'd vanished months earlier. In his room, they found a notebook, sketches of houses, including Megan's, and a photo of me, taken at the supermarket. My stomach dropped. He'd been following me maybe since that night. The final note came a week later, slipped under my door. "You're next." I moved again, this time out of state, but the terror clung like damp rot. The police lost his trail, but I knew he was out there, waiting for a chance to finish what he started. I'm in a new state now, but safety is a fragile illusion. I still don't know what happened with that man, but I hope he's getting the help he needs. I check my locks obsessively, scan every window for shadows. The police have his sketch on file, but he's a phantom, slipping through every net. Emma sends updates, but even she can't ease the dread. That night at Megan's house left a mark I'll carry forever. I used to think mansions were safe, that wealth could shield you. Now I know danger can slip through any crack, especially when you're alone. The lesson here is to always trust your instincts. That glass breaking wasn't just a sound, it was a warning. I carry a taser, avoid big houses, and never play games in the dark. If you hear something wrong, don't wait, run, call, fight. The shadow outside your window might not be a stranger, and it might know your name. The summer night is warm as I step into my wealthy friend's sprawling mansion. laughter and music filling the air. I'm staying over at his grand estate, a place of chandeliers and endless halls. But as the party fades and shadows creep in, something feels deeply wrong. A faint whisper echoes from the upper floors, and a cold draft brushes my skin where no window is open. That night, something isn't right. And it's not just the wine talking. This isn't just a memory. It's the start of a chilling mystery that will unravel secrets I wasn't meant to find. What's hiding in this house? And why does it feel like it knows me? One step into the dark, and I'm caught in a nightmare. That won't let go, pulling me toward a truth I may not survive. It's been years since I last saw Ethan, my old college buddy who struck it rich with a tech startup. His invitation to a weekend at his estate in the hills of Northern California was too good to pass up. I arrived at his massive, opulent mansion, a labyrinth of marble floors, towering windows, and art that cost more than my rent. The party was in full swing, friends, colleagues, and strangers mingling under chandeliers, the air thick with laughter and clinking glasses. Ethan greeted me with a grin, his charm unchanged, but his eyes held a flicker of something. Nervousness. Maybe? I was staying over that night, crashing in one of the guest suites, eager to catch up and soak in the luxury. As the night wore on, the crowd thinned and the music softened. I wandered the halls, marveling at the grandeur, but a strange unease settled in my chest. Something wasn't right. The house felt too quiet, the shadows too deep. I brushed it off as jet lag, but then I heard it, a faint whisper, like voices, murmuring from the upper floors. I froze, straining to listen, but the sound vanished. That night something felt off, a nagging sense that the house was watching me. I found Ethan in the study, pouring whiskey, and asked if he'd heard anything. "Old houses creak," he said, but his smile was tight, his gaze darting to the doorway. Back in the guest suite, I tried to sleep, but the unease grew. The room was lavish, silk sheets, a four-poster bed, but a cold draft brushed my skin. Though the windows were shut, I kept thinking about that night, the way the house seemed to breathe, its walls holding secrets. I got up, checking the door. It was locked, but a faint scratch came from the hallway, like nails on wood. My heart raced. Was someone out there, or was it my imagination? I opened the door, peering into the dark, but the hall was empty, the air heavy with silence. Something wasn't right, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I texted Ethan, asking if he was awake, but got no reply. The mansion's opulence now felt oppressive, every shadow a threat. I remembered a story Ethan once told. His family had bought this place cheap, rumors of a tragedy tied to it, but he'd laughed it off. Now those rumors felt real. The memory of that night clung to me, a puzzle with missing pieces. I found a photo on the nightstand, an old black and white shot of the mansion, a figure in the window, blurred but human. My stomach dropped. Was this house haunted, or was something else at play? I couldn't sleep, the guest suite's luxury now a cage. The memory of that night burned in my mind, every detail sharper. The mansion's eerie silence, the sense that something was deeply wrong. I got up, pacing, the cold draft still brushing my skin. The scratching sound came again, louder from the hallway. I grabbed my phone, its flashlight cutting through the dark, and opened the door. The corridor stretched endlessly, lined with portraits whose eyes seemed to follow me. Something wasn't right, and it wasn't just nerves. I called Ethan's name, my voice echoing, but the house swallowed it. Downstairs, the study was empty, Ethan's whiskey glass abandoned. I checked the living room. Nothing but shadows. Then, a faint thump from above, like footsteps in the attic. My heart pounded. I kept replaying that night. The whispers, the draft, the photo. I climbed the grand staircase, each step creaking, the air growing colder. At the attic door, I hesitated, my hand trembling on the knob. It was locked, but a low hum vibrated through the wood, almost human. I backed away, fear overtaking curiosity. This house wasn't right, its secrets pressing against me like a physical weight. I found Ethan's phone on the kitchen counter, screen cracked, a text open. "Don't let her find it." My stomach lurched. Who was her? Me? I pocketed the phone, needing answers. The night felt wrong, every corner hiding something I wasn't meant to see. I remembered Ethan's wealth came fast, too fast. Whispers of shady deals. Had he brought something into this house? I searched the study, finding a locked drawer. Using a paperclip, I pried it open, revealing a ledger. Names, dates, sums, and a word scrawled in red. Offering. My blood ran cold. Was Ethan involved? In something dark? The thump came again, closer from the hall. I grabbed a letter opener, my only weapon, and crept toward the sound. A figure stood at the far end, tall, cloaked in shadow, motionless. I froze, heart in my throat. "Ethan," I whispered. No answer. The figure stepped forward, then vanished around a corner. I didn't follow, my legs shaking. The memory of that night was a nightmare now, each moment confirming something was terribly wrong. I texted my friend Olivia, who'd grown up nearby, sending her a photo of the ledger. "Get out," she replied. "That house has a history. People disappeared." There, her words hit hard. I couldn't shake the feeling that night was off, the house alive with secrets. I found a hidden door behind a bookshelf, slightly ajar. My hand hovered, fear battling curiosity. I pushed it open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. A faint glow flickered below, and the hum returned, louder, chanting-like. I stepped back, slamming the door shut, my breath ragged. This wasn't just a bad night. It was a trap, and I was caught in it. I stood frozen, the hidden door's presence a silent threat. The memory of that night was now a vivid terror, the mansion's wrongness undeniable. My phone buzzed. Olivia. Texting. That house was a cult hideout in the 90s, leave now. Her words confirmed my fear. Something was deeply wrong, and I was in its heart. I grabbed Ethan's phone, scrolling through more texts. The offering must be ready. She's perfect. My blood ran cold. Was I the offering? I needed to find Ethan, to confront him. But the house felt like a maze, each hall twisting, my sense of direction. A crash echoed from the foyer. I clutched the letter opener, creeping downstairs. The chandelier swayed slightly, though no breeze stirred the air. That night wasn't right, and now I knew why. The house was alive with something malevolent. I found Ethan in the dining room, staring at a wall, his face pale. "Ethan, what's going on?" I demanded, holding up his phone. He flinched, eyes wide. "You weren't supposed to see that," he whispered, his voice trembling. The memory of that night surged. The whispers, the cold, the wrongness. And I realized Ethan wasn't just hiding something. He was part of it. "Tell me the truth," I said, letter opener raised. He sank into a chair, head in hands. "I didn't want this," he said. "The house, it demands things. My family made a deal years ago to keep the wealth. Every decade, an offering, a person, someone close." My heart stopped. Was I chosen? The night felt so wrong because it was a setup. The house a predator. I backed away, but footsteps sounded above, heavy, deliberate. "They're here," Ethan said, his voice hollow. I didn't wait to find out who they were. I ran. The mansion's halls closing in. The hidden door was my only chance. I flung it open, descending the narrow stairs, the chanting growing louder, words in a language I didn't know. The glow was brighter now, coming from a basement room. I peered in, heart pounding. A circle of candles, symbols etched in blood, and a figure in a robe, hooded, holding a knife. My breath caught. This house wasn't right. Its secret's a ritual I'd stumbled into. I turned to run, but Ethan was behind me, blocking the stairs. "I'm sorry, Grace," he said, eyes glassy. "It's the only way." I shoved past him, the letter opener slashing his arm, and sprinted up the stairs. The chanting followed, voices rising like a storm. I burst into the foyer, fumbling with the front door. It was locked. The memory of that night was a trap, the mansion's wrongness now a living nightmare. I smashed a window with a chair, glass shattering, and climbed out, cutting my hands. The night air hit me, cold and sharp, as I ran to my car, engine roaring. To life. In the rearview mirror, figures emerged from the house, their faces hidden, but I didn't stop. I drove to a motel, shaking, and called the police, spilling everything. The night at Ethan's mansion, the wrongness, the ritual. They searched the estate but found nothing. No candles, no symbols, just Ethan claiming I'd had a panic attack. The ledger was gone, his phone wiped. The cops dismissed me, but Olivia believed me. She dug into the house's history, finding records of missing persons tied to Ethan's family every 10 years. That night wasn't just a memory. It was proof of something dark hidden in plain sight. I moved to a new city, changed my number, but the fear lingers. My hands still bear scars from the glass, a reminder of that night's wrongness. Last week, a letter arrived. No return address, just a single line. "The offering is still due." I burned it, but the words haunt me. Ethan's out there, or someone else, and the house's shadow hasn't let me go. The memory of that night is a chain, pulling me back to a truth I can't outrun. The Ouija board twitched under our fingers, spelling out a warning we were too reckless to heed, and then the piano in the next room screamed to life. That night, we thought we were playing a game, until it played us. My name's Lucas, and in my senior year of high school in a rural corner of Northern California, my friends and I thought we were invincible, chasing thrills without fear of consequences. This took place during the final months of high school, and because of this, we decided to do a sleepover to just relive our fun times. It was a Saturday night, and at one point during the sleepover, we had just finished a movie, not knowing what else to do now. This was also around the time where social media had began to blow up. One of the social media apps that started gaining popularity quickly was Instagram, which eventually led to major trends. One of these trends was playing with an Ouija board in an attempt to contact spirits and other entities. Instagram was flooded with videos of teens messing with Ouija boards, giggling as they summoned spirits, their posts racking up likes and comments. It looked fun, edgy, a perfect way to cap our high school days, and we wanted in on the viral thrill. It was Mia's idea, our host for the sleepover, a bold girl with a mischievous streak and a knack for pushing boundaries. Her parents' old farmhouse, creaky and full of shadows, was the perfect stage, its peeling paint and sagging porch straight out of a ghost story. Being the naive and dumb teenagers we were, we had all looked at each other, just knowing we had to do it. Thankfully, the parents of the friend hosting the sleepover just so happened to own a really old Ouija board that had been passed down from her family for years. She had claimed that it was 100% authentic and most likely worked. Seeing how old it was, Mia pulled the dusty board from a trunk in the attic, its wood worn smooth, letters faded but legible, an antique that felt heavy with history. She swore it was the real deal, passed down from her great-grandmother, and we bought into the mystique, our excitement drowning out any doubts. We did some research online and found an article that described how to correctly set up a Norwegian board. This involves some candles and a dark, quiet room. Once we got the supplies, we set the board down, lit the candles, and turned off all of the lights. We gathered in the living room, the farmhouse's silence pressing in, broken only by the flicker of candlelight and the occasional creak of the old wooden floors. My best friend Ethan, skeptical but curious, joined Mia and me, our fingers trembling as we placed them on the planchette, the air thick with anticipation. The shadows danced on the walls, and I felt a prickle on my neck, like the house itself was watching. What were we about to unleash, and why did it feel so wrong? The candles flickered as we asked our first question, our voices hushed. Is anyone here? The planchette quivered under our fingers, then slid slowly, deliberately, to yes. For the first few seconds, nothing had happened, but that was until we felt the planchette slowly move to yes. We all look at each other trying to figure which one of us was moving it. However, we all denied and said that it was moving by itself. We exchanged glances, half laughing, half nervous, accusing each other of pushing it. Cut it out, Mia, Ethan snapped, but she shook her head, eyes gleaming with excitement. I felt a chill, like the room had dropped 10 degrees, the air growing heavy, oppressive. For some reason, one of my friends asked if it can somehow prove that there was something with us. All of a sudden, the craziest thing happens when we hear the sound of a toy piano being played in the other room. The notes were tinny, erratic, a jarring melody echoing from Mia's little brother's room, where a toy piano sat untouched on a shelf. We froze, the air thick with dread, our breaths shallow. That's not possible, Ethan whispered, his voice trembling, his skepticism crumbling. Mia bolted to check, her footsteps pounding, but she returned pale, shaking her head. The room was empty, the piano silent, its keys cold to the touch. No sign of her brother or anyone else. Back at the board, we hesitated, the candles casting long, twisted shadows that seemed to move on their own. Ethan wanted to stop, his hands shaking, but Mia pushed on, her thrill overriding sense. Who are you? She asked, her voice defiant. The planchette jerked, spelling out Notsafe. My heart pounded, a primal fear clawing at me. Stop it, Mia, I said, my voice barely a whisper. But she ignored me, her eyes locked on the board. A week earlier, I'd overheard Mia's mom talking about an old family story. Her great aunt, a woman who dabbled in seances in that very farmhouse, vanishing without a trace after a ritual went wrong, leaving whispers of a curse tied to the house. I'd laughed it off then, chalking it up to small-town folklore, but now it felt real, the board a doorway we'd opened too wide. We asked again, and the planchette moved faster, spelling Leave. The candles flickered wildly, their flames bending as if caught in a draft, and I swore I heard a low hum, like a voice murmuring beneath the floorboards, too faint to decipher but heavy with menace. Ethan, his face pale, yanked his hands off. The board. This is messed up, he said, his voice cracking. I wanted to agree, to run, but a reckless part of me couldn't stop. I stupidly asked the board when I would die with my hands on the planchette. It slowly moves to the letters. To ENSECONDS 10 seconds at this point. We all start staring at each other while laughing, thinking that one of us had to have done that. We laughed nervously, calling it a joke, Ethan rolling his eyes, but my stomach twisted. A primal fear taking hold, like I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Then my phone rang, shattering the silence, the screen flashing, emergency call, from my dad. However, just about 15 seconds or so later, my phone starts ringing with the label emergency call. It was from my dad. I picked up and was met with him screaming on the other end saying, "She's dead." She meaning my mom. Apparently, they were on their way home from a dinner party. When the car swerved off and got shoved into a boat trailer my mom died instantly on. Packed. I dropped the phone, the room spinning, my friends' voices fading into a distant buzz. The board had answered my question, and the cost was my world, ripped away in an instant. The call ended, my dad's sobs echoing in my ears, a sound I'd never unhear. This incident has left me devastated for years, as I truly believe that this wasn't some coincidence. I think we're going back many, many years for this, but I grew up in Northern California, in quite a poor rural area. I stumbled out of Mia's house, the Ouija board abandoned on the floor, its planchette still pointing to S, a silent accusation. My friends were silent, their faces pale, the weight of what had happened crushing us under its enormity. I got home to chaos. My dad a wreck, police at our door explaining the crash. A drunk driver had crossed the median, they said, a tragic accident, but I knew better. The board had warned us, spelled out danger, and I'd asked the forbidden question, inviting disaster into our lives. I couldn't look at the farmhouse as I left, its dark windows staring back like eyes, the air thick with something we'd awakened. Days later, I couldn't face Mia or Ethan, their texts piling up unanswered, their voices too painful to hear. The farmhouse felt cursed, its creaky halls and shadowed corners hiding something we'd stirred, something that had latched onto us. I dug into the family story Mia's mom had mentioned, sneaking into the local library to scour old newspaper clippings. Her great-aunt Clara had hosted seances in that house in the 1920s, vanishing after a ritual went wrong, her disappearance blamed on a dark presence by superstitious locals. The articles were vague, but one mentioned a fire in the attic, years later with strange symbols carved into the beams, symbols like the ones faintly etched on the Ouija board's edge, ones I hadn't noticed until it was too late. Had we stirred that same force? Reopened a door Clara had sealed? The piano's notes haunted me, a melody I heard in my sleep, each chime a reminder of my mom's death, a tolling bell for my mistake. I started researching Ouija boards online, diving into forums filled with chilling warnings, stories of possessions, unexplained tragedies, entities that latched onto players who asked the wrong questions. One post described a board like ours, passed down through generations, tied to a vengeful spirit that demanded a price for its answers. My guilt grew, a suffocating weight that pressed on my chest, waking me in the night with gasps. Had I caused this? Had my question, my reckless curiosity, unleashed something that took my mom? Ethan called me a month later, his voice hollow, confessing he'd seen shadows in his room since that night, dark shapes that moved when he blinked. Mia, too, was unraveling, refusing to sleep in the farmhouse, claiming she heard whispers in the walls, voices calling her name. We'd opened a door that night and something had stepped through, its presence lingering like a stain we couldn't wash away. I visited a local medium, desperate for answers, my hands shaking as I sat in her dimly lit shop, the air heavy with incense. She sensed a heavy energy around me, her eyes narrowing as she touched my hand. "You invited it," she said, her voice low, urgent. "It's not done with you." Her words chilled me to the bone, and I swore never to touch another Ouija board, to never again tempt the unknown. But the damage was done, the loss irreversible. My life felt marked, every creak in my house a threat, every dream a replay of that night. The board, the piano, my mom's name on a gravestone. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching, waiting for another chance to claim what it was owed. My mom's death broke something in me, leaving a void no amount of therapy could fill. I'm 25 now, living in a new city, far from that cursed farmhouse in Northern California, but the Ouija board's shadow lingers, a weight I carry in every quiet moment, This incident has left me devastated for years, as I truly believe that this wasn't some coincidence. I avoid anything paranormal, flinching at mentions of seances, spirit boards, or ghost stories, my skin crawling at the thought. Mia and Ethan drifted away, our friendship a casualty of that night, each of us carrying our own scars, our own guilt. I heard Mia's family sold the farmhouse, unable to stay in a place that felt alive with malice. Ethan struggles with anxiety, haunted by the same shadows I see in my dreams, dark shapes that flicker at the edge of my vision. I shared my story online, anonymously, in a forum for those touched by the supernatural, warning others about the dangers of Ouija boards. The responses flooded in. People who'd lost loved ones, faced hauntings, or felt a presence after playing, their stories mirroring mine in chilling detail. It's not a game. It's a trap, a doorway to things we can't control. I started a blog, urging teens to steer clear, to respect the unknown, to never ask questions they aren't prepared to have answered. My town's tragedy wasn't unique. It's a warning etched in loss. That Ouija board is still out there, maybe in another attic, another unsuspecting home, waiting for curious hands to wake it. Don't touch it. Some doors, once opened, never close, and the price is more than you can bear. In the suffocating stillness of a moonless Portland night, my house became a cage as shadowy figures circled its edges. I jolted awake, a primal dread clawing at my chest. I woke up with a bad feeling, peering through my blinds to see dark shapes, moving outside my windows, their outlines shifting like predators in the dark. My heart hammered as I watched them glide, silent and deliberate. It felt like they were surrounding the house, a noose tightening around my safe haven. Were they thieves, stalkers, or something worse? I was terrified they were trying to get in, the night hiding their intent. This isn't just a tale of fear, it's a harrowing plunge into a night that scarred me forever. Buckle up, because the shadows hold secrets that will grip you until the end. My name's Zoe, a 28-year-old graphic designer living in a cozy Portland suburb, where maple trees lined the streets and neighbors waved from porches. I lived in a quiet suburban house, a rental I'd made my own with art and plants, a sanctuary after long workdays. But lately, the suburb's calm felt fragile. I woke up with a bad feeling a week earlier, hearing faint rustles outside, seeing fleeting shadows that vanished when I looked. I'd chalked it up to raccoons, but my dog, Finn, growled at the windows, his hackles raised. I was terrified they were trying to get in, the memory of those moments lingering like a bad dream. The neighborhood wasn't pristine. Petty thefts, smashed car windows, and rumors of prowlers had surfaced recently. My friend Carter, a barista at the local coffee shop, mentioned a string of break-ins nearby. Homes hit while owners slept. I'd brushed it off, trusting my locks and Finn's barks, but his warnings echoed as I lay awake, the night's silence now a lie. It felt like they were surrounding the house, that first night's unease growing into a knot of dread. I started checking doors obsessively, keeping a flashlight by my bed. Finn's restless pacing my only company. Be aware of your surroundings, Carter had said, and I was learning why. That night, the bad feeling hit harder, a weight pressing on my chest. I woke at 2 a.m., Finn's low growl pulling me from sleep. I peered through the blinds, my breath catching as I saw dark shapes moving outside my windows, their forms indistinct but purposeful, gliding along the house's edges. It felt like they were surrounding the house, their silence more menacing than any sound. I was terrified they were trying to get in, my hands shaking as I gripped my phone, debating 911. Finn's growls grew sharper, his eyes fixed on the backyard. I saw dark shapes moving outside my windows, the shadows shifting. As if testing my defenses, my sanctuary was under siege, and I was alone, the night a canvas for my worst fears. Finn's growls filled the house, a low rumble that matched the panic clawing at my chest. I gripped my flashlight, its beam cutting through the dark as I moved. From window to window, the shadows outside shifting just beyond my sight. I checked the house and found muddy footprints, smeared across the porch, trailing to the backyard. My stomach lurched. Someone had been here, close enough to touch my home. The back door was slightly open, a sliver of night air seeping through. The lock untouched, but the frame scratched. I was terrified they were trying to get in, the footprints a map of their intent. I slammed the door shut, bolting it. Finn's barks echoing as I dialed 911, my voice trembling. I called the police, but they found no one. Their flashlights sweeping the yard, finding only the footprints, too smudged for prints. The police left, their radios crackling, but the shadow's presence lingered, a weight I couldn't shake. The memory haunts me, that night's terror replaying in every creak of the house. I checked every room, Finn at my heels, and found a faint mark on the living room window, a smudge like a gloved hand. I'm scared they'll come back, the thought of vice around my heart. Carter came over, his face grim as he examined the footprints, noting their size, too large for kids, too deliberate for drunks. I learned there were break-ins nearby, he said, pulling up news reports of homes hit, valuables gone, families traumatized. I think it was connected. The shadows, no random prowlers, but part of something organized, targeting our quiet streets. I stayed up, flashlight in hand, Finn's growls my only warning. The memory haunts me, the shadows silence a scream in my... I found a crumpled note under my doormat the next morning, scrawled in jagged ink. "We see you." No signature, just those words, chilling me to the core. I'm scared they'll come back, the note a promise of return. I called Carter, who urged me to install cameras, his voice tense with worry. The police took the note, but I called the police, but they found no one. Their search yielding nothing but a vague promise to patrol. I think it was connected, the break-ins, the shadows, the note, a coordinated threat, and I was marked. Finn slept by the door, his eyes on the night as I watched the windows, the shadows dance, now a nightmare I couldn't escape. The note, "We see you," was a chain around my soul, its words a constant echo in my sleepless nights. The memory haunts me, that night's shadows now a specter in every corner of my home. I couldn't ignore it despite Carter's warnings to move. I'm scared they'll come back, the fear a living thing, clawing at my sanity. I installed cameras, their red lights blinking like Finn's eyes, but the note's threat drove me to dig deeper. I think it was connected, the shadows part of a larger web, and I needed answers. I scoured news reports, finding a pattern. Break-ins, targeting homes near a new development, each hit precise, no arrests. I learned there were break-ins nearby, but these weren't random. Thefts were minimal, fear the true prize. I met Carter at his coffee shop, his hands unsteady as he showed me a police report he'd gotten from a friend. The break-ins were linked to a gang, led by a woman called Nora Blake, known for terrorizing suburbs to force sales to developers. My house sat on land eyed for condos, its value soaring. My blood ran cold. Was I a target to scare me out? I think it was connected. The shadows, Nora's crew. Their footprints a signature of intimidation. I found a hidden tracker under my porch, its signal tied to a burner phone missed by police. The note's handwriting matched a graffiti tag on a nearby vacant lot, signed NB. Nora was real, and she was watching. Against Carter's pleas, I staked out the lot, camera rolling, Finn quiet in the car. At midnight I saw them. 3 figures, one a woman, her silhouette sharp directing the others. My footage caught her face, Nora Blake, her eyes cold as she scanned the street. I sent it to Carter, who passed it to his police friend, but before could leave, a rock smashed my windshield, a note tied to it, "Leave or burn." I sped home, heart racing, Finn's growls my anchor. I called the police, but they found no one. The lot empty by the time they arrived, Nora's crew gone. The memory haunts me, the notes thread a noose tightening. I'm scared they'll come back, and I knew Nora wouldn't stop. The police raided a gang hideout using my footage, arresting 2 of Nora's men, but she slipped away. They found plans for the development, my address circled, a list of targets, families driven, out by fear. I learned there were break-ins nearby, all tied to Nora's scheme, profiting millions. I think it was connected. The shadows her weapon, my home a pawn in her game. I moved my valuables to Carter's, Finn by my side, cameras live, but the fear was relentless. I'm scared they'll come back. Nora's shadow a ghost I couldn't outrun. My life a battlefield where every shadow was her. 6 months later, a multi-state sting brought Nora Blake down, her gang shattered, charged with extortion, burglary, and racketeering. My footage, the tracker, and the notes were pivotal, exposing a scheme that terrorized suburbs for millions in land deals. I testified behind a screen, my voice firm as Nora's cold eyes scanned the courtroom. She got 20 years, her empire dust, but her shadow lingered. The memory haunts me, that night's terror a wound that won't heal. I sold my house, moved to a high-security apartment, Finn my constant guard, but I'm scared they'll come back. The fear a ghost in every shadow. Therapy helps, teaching me to live with vigilance. Carter my rock, his coffee shop my safe haven. The break-ins stopped, the development stalled, but I learned the price of complacency. Be aware of your surroundings, I tell community groups now, sharing my story to warn others. Always be prepared for danger, because I wasn't, and it nearly broke me. Those shadows weren't just thieves. They were a calculated terror, a plan I disrupted by refusing to run. Be aware of your surroundings, because the smallest sign can save you. I keep the first note, a relic of that night, a reminder to stay sharp in a world where shadows hide intent. This isn't just a tale of survival, it's a call to act. Always be prepared for danger, the rustle, the footprint, the note in the dark. Trust your instincts, because mine kept me alive, but also led me to Nora's web. Be aware of your surroundings, because the world's full of Noras, preying on the unwary, but also full of Zoes, people who can fight back if they see the signs. Don't ignore the shadows, don't sleep through the threat. Stay vigilant, stand your ground, and never let the night claim your peace. A child's wail shatters the silence, sharp and anguished, echoing down the hallway like a blade. It's 3:08 a.m., and I'm bolt upright in bed, heart pounding, in our creaky house on the edge of a quiet Wisconsin suburb. The cry cuts off, then starts again, louder, desperate, from somewhere deep in the house. My skin prickles. It sounds like my little sister, but it's not. It can't be. Something's in our home, and it's screaming. I'm Caleb, 16, living, with my parents, Ellen and David, and my sister Sophie, who's 8. That night, everyone in the house was woken up by a loud crying sound. We've been in this old colonial for a year, a fixer-upper near a dense forest that hums with crickets at night. It's the kind of place where the floorboards groan and the wind rattles the shutters, but it's home. It was so loud and sounded, so painful that it scared us all. I throw off my blanket, my breath shallow, and grab the baseball bat by my bed. Sophie's room is next to mine. She should be asleep, but that cry, it's too raw, too wrong. I step into the hall, the darkness, thick, the wail bouncing off the walls. Mom and Dad are already up, their silhouettes in the dim light. Mom clutching her robe, Dad holding a flashlight. "Caleb, stay back," Dad whispers, but I follow, bat in hand. Sophie's door is open. She's curled in bed, eyes wide, whispering, "It's not me." My stomach lurches. If it's not her, who's crying? The sound's coming from the end of the hall, from the storage room we never use. The wail grows louder, a raw, guttural sob that claws at my nerves. It was so loud and sounded so painful that it scared us all. I trailed Dad down the hall, Mom holding Sophie's hand behind us. The storage room door looms ahead, its paint peeling, the knob rusted. We never go in there. It's just boxes, old furniture, junk from the previous owners. We realized it was coming from the storage room at the end of the hall. Dad pauses, flashlight shaking, and looks back at Mom. "Stay here," he says, but she shakes her head, her face pale. I grip the bat tighter, my pulse roaring. "What if it's a kid?" I whisper, thinking of Sophie, of someone hurt. Dad nods, his jaw tight, and turns the knob. The door creaks open, the wail swelling, then stopping abruptly, like a switch flipped. The silence is worse, heavy, pressing against my chest. Dad sweeps the flashlight inside. Boxes, a cracked mirror, cobwebs. No one's there, my skin crawls. "Hello," Dad calls, his voice echoing. Nothing. Mom steps forward, her voice trembling. It sounded so real. Sophie's clinging to her, whispering, "It's a ghost." I want to laugh it off, but the air feels wrong, thick with a faint sour smell. Like damp wood. I notice something, a window at the far end cracked open, its latch broken. "Dad, look," I say, pointing. He crosses the room, shining the light. The sill's wet, and there on the floor, a smudge of mud shaped like a partial footprint. My heart skips. Someone was here. I scan the room, bat raised, half expecting a figure to leap out. The boxes are undisturbed, but something glints in the corner, a torn piece of fabric, blue, caught on a nail. It's not ours. "We need to call the cops," Mom says, her voice sharp. Dad nods, but his eyes are fixed on the footprint, his face grim. This isn't a ghost. Someone or something was in our house crying like that. Dad closes the window, locking it, but the mud print stares back, undeniable. When we checked, we found nothing. No one was there, but a window was open and there were muddy footprints. On the floor. I step closer, bat still raised. The sour smell stronger now, mixing with something metallic. Mom's holding Sophie, whispering, "It's okay." But her eyes are wide, darting to the door. "David, what is this?" she asks, her voice breaking. Dad shakes his head, flashlight sweeping the room. "I don't know." I kneel by the footprint, my hands shaking. It's fresh, the mud still wet, smeared like someone ran. "They came." "Through the window," I say, my voice low. Dad nods, his face tight. "Or left through it." The thought chills me. Was someone hiding here, crying like that? Why? I scan the boxes, noticing one tipped over, its contents. Old books, a broken lamp spilled across the floor. Something else catches my eye. A faded photograph half buried under dust, showing a young girl, maybe Sophie's age, her face blurred. My stomach twists. Whose is this? Sophie's voice cuts through, small and scared. "It's gonna come back." I want to tell her it's fine, but I can't. The wail, the footprint, the photo, it's too much. Dad pulls out his phone, dialing 911. "We've had a break-in," he says, his voice steady but strained. Mom takes Sophie back to her room, but I stay, bat in hand, watching the shadows. The house feels alive, its walls holding secrets we don't understand. The wail doesn't return, but the silence is heavy, oppressive. I keep seeing that photo, the girl's blurred face. Was she the one crying? Or was it someone else, someone still out there? The forest beyond our yard is dark, endless, and I wonder if they're watching us now, waiting for another chance. The police arrive an hour later, their flashlights sweeping the yard. The police came and said it was probably just an intruder, but they couldn't find any real evidence. They inspect the storage room, take photos of the footprint, the open window, but their faces are skeptical. No fingerprints, no clear tracks outside, one cop says. Could have been a transient passing through. Dad presses them. What about the crying? They shrug. Maybe a prank or an animal. I clench my fists, frustrated. That wasn't an animal. That was human, and it was terrified. That was one of the scariest nights of our lives, and none of us could sleep for days. Mom keeps Sophie close, refusing to let her out of sight. Dad installs new locks, a security system. But the house feels tainted, its shadows deeper. I can't stop hearing the wail, seeing the footprint, the photo. I sneak back to the storage room the next day, digging through the boxes. The photo's gone, taken by the cops maybe. But I find a scrap of paper, scribbled with an address, not ours. My hands shake. Is this connected? We don't talk about it, but the fear lingers. Sophie sleeps in Mom's room now, her eyes hollow. I check the windows every night, bat by my bed, haunted by the thought of someone hiding in our house. The cops call it a one-off, but I don't believe them. That cry wasn't random. It was a warning, a plea, and we missed it. I start Googling, finding stories of missing kids in nearby towns, their cases cold. Was one of them here? Or is something else going on? Months pass, but the wail echoes in my dreams. A ghost that won't leave. None of us could sleep for days. And it was one of the scariest nights of our lives. I'm 17 now, but I check the locks every night, keep the bat close, and avoid the storage room. Sophie's quieter, drawing pictures of a crying girl she says she sees in her dreams. Mom and Dad don't talk about it, but they jump at every noise, their eyes scanning the forest beyond our yard. The house feels like a stranger, its walls, hiding truths we can't face. One day, I'm at the library, scrolling through a local crime forum. Post stops me. Missing girl, last seen near Oakwood Forest 5 years ago, case unsolved. Oakwood, that's our neighborhood. The article includes a photo, grainy but familiar. A girl, maybe 10, with dark hair like the one in the storage room. My hands shake. Was that her crying? I dig deeper, finding more. Missing persons, cold cases, all within a few miles of our house. One user claims the forest hides something bad, a place where people vanish. I find the scrap of paper. Again, the address scrawled in faded ink. It's a house 2 towns over, abandoned, linked to a missing teen case from a decade ago. I don't tell Mom or Dad, but I drive there, heart pounding. The house is a ruin, windows boarded. But in the yard I find a child's shoe, half buried, like it's been waiting. My blood runs cold. Was this connected to our intruder or something worse? The fear never fades. I hear the wail in every gust of wind, see the girl's face in every shadow. A new post appears on the forum. Strange noises near Oakwood Forest, crying late at night. Anyone else hear it? My stomach drops. I don't sleep that night. The address, the shoe, the wail circling my mind. Was it a ghost, a victim, or someone still out there hiding in the trees? The house is quiet now, but it's not safe. In a world where cries echo and footprints vanish, answers are the hardest thing to find. In the dead of night, when the world is asleep, a cold hand brushes your ankle, fingers tightening like a trap. You're frozen, breath caught, as the darkness hides the intruder who's already inside. My name's Ava, and during a sleepover, while my friends slumbered, I felt that touch. A stranger's hand reaching from the shadows, marking a night that still chills my blood. This isn't just a story, it's a warning etched in fear. For privacy, I'm keeping names and places vague. This happened at my best friend's house a few years ago when we were in middle school. We were inseparable, bonded by late-night chats and shared secrets. It was a Saturday night, and we decided to have a sleepover to relive our fun times. My friend Chloe hosted, her cozy house a haven for our giggles and games. We had just finished a movie, not knowing what else to do. The clock ticked past midnight, and we sprawled on sleeping bags in the living room, whispering until exhaustion took over. Everyone else was asleep, but I was rolling over my sleeping bag, trying to get comfortable. Then in the quiet I felt it. A cold hand grabbed my foot, fingers tightening. My heart stopped. This wasn't a prank. Someone was there in the dark, with us. The hand's grip was icy, deliberate, pulling me toward the edge of my sleeping. "Drew?" I screamed, kicking wildly, and the hand let go. My voice shattered the silence, waking Chloe and our friend Zoe. "What's wrong?" Chloe gasped, fumbling for her phone's flashlight. I stammered, "Someone grabbed me." The beam swept the room, revealing nothing but our scattered blankets and snacks. I was sure I felt a hand, but there was no one there. My heart pounded, my skin crawling with the memory of that touch. Zoe, half asleep, mumbled, "You were dreaming." But I wasn't. The sensation was too real, too cold. We checked the doors, locked, windows secure. Chloe's parents were upstairs, undisturbed. I insisted we search the house, too scared to go back to sleep. We tiptoed through the living room, kitchen, even the basement, flashlights shaking in our hands. Nothing was out of place, no signs of an intruder. But as we returned to the living room, I noticed something. A faint smudge on the floor, like a muddy footprint near my sleeping bag. It hadn't been there before. Chloe's face paled. "Maybe it's from earlier," she said, but her voice wavered. I called 911, whispering to avoid waking her parents. The operator was skeptical but sent a patrol car. The police found no one, but they took my statement seriously. They suggested a prank or imagination, but I saw doubt in their eyes when they spotted the smudge. We didn't sleep that night, huddling together, waiting for dawn. Morning brought no relief. Chloe's parents were upset, but thought it was just a nightmare. They cleaned the smudge, dismissing it as dirt from our shoes. I wasn't convinced. That hand was real, and I couldn't shake the feeling someone had been in the house. The police report went nowhere. No evidence, no suspects. Chloe and Zoe moved on, but I couldn't. That touch lingered, a ghost in my mind. I stopped going to sleepovers, jumping at every shadow in my own room. My parents thought I was stressed, but I knew better. Someone had been there, watching us sleep. In high school, I started digging. I found online forums about home invasions, some mentioning intruders who entered without stealing, just to watch. One post described a man caught hiding under a bed, his fingerprints smudged with dirt. It matched my memory too closely. I confided in a new friend, Grace, who'd had a similar scare. A strange noise at her house, a shadow outside. She helped me search Chloe's neighborhood records. We found reports of prowlers, never caught, often near big houses like Chloe's. I contacted the police again, but they said without new evidence the case was closed. Frustration burned, but fear burned hotter. One night I woke to a scratching at my window. Peering out, I saw nothing but a smudge on the glass, like a handprint, fresh and muddy. My heart raced. Was it him? Back for me? The smudge on my window was a spark that ignited panic. I installed cameras, carried a taser, and barely slept. The note started a month later, scraps of paper in my mailbox. I felt you. Still here. I moved to a new apartment hoping to escape, but the fear followed. One night my camera caught a figure outside. A man, hooded, standing just beyond the light. He left a note. You can't hide. I called the police, who found footprints, but no suspect. Desperate, I tracked down Chloe's old neighbor, a retired security guard. He remembered a prowler from years ago, caught but released, known for targeting kids' sleepovers. He liked the thrill, he said. Not stealing, just scaring. Grace and I dug deeper, finding a police report from a nearby town. The man, a drifter named Carl, had been arrested for stalking, his prints muddy from crawling through yards. A photo showed his face, gaunt, eyes hollow, like the ones I'd imagined in the dark. I sent it to the police, who traced him to a squat house. He was gone, but they found a journal, pages of addresses, including Chloe's, and a sketch of me labeled "The One Who Screamed." My stomach churned. He'd been watching me, maybe for years. The final note arrived as I packed to move again. I'll find you. The police tightened their search, but Carl was a ghost, always one step ahead. I'm in a new city now, but the dark still feels alive. I still don't know what that man wanted, but I hope he's caught someday. I check my locks, my cameras, every night haunted by that hand, those notes. Grace stays in touch, but even she can't calm my nerves. That night at Chloe's house changed me forever. I used to think sleepovers were safe, a bubble of laughter and trust. Now I know the dark hides predators waiting for you to close your eyes. The lesson here is to always trust your instincts. That hand wasn't a dream, it was a warning. I carry a taser, avoid sleeping over, and never ignore a strange touch. If you feel something wrong, don't wait, scream, run, fight. The hand in the dark might not let go, and it might come back for you. The basement door slammed shut behind me, and the air turned thick like I'd stepped into a tomb. His smile was too sharp, too knowing, and I realized I was trapped. My name's Zoe, a 19-year-old college freshman desperate to find a place to live in a new city an hour from my small-town home. When I was 19, I was looking for a room to rent in the city I was moving to for college. It was about an hour away from my family. I wasn't having much luck, and my mom started helping me look for a place. She found an ad on Craigslist for a room. For $300 in a house, everything included. The ad was a lifeline. $300 a month, utilities included, in a shared house with other female students. Perfect for my tight budget. The homeowner was a man, and he rented the additional rooms upstairs to other women. While he lived in the finished basement, the ad stated he rarely ever saw the other roommates because he had a kitchen and his own entrance downstairs. And that he preferred women because he had issues with male roommates in the past, partying and causing damage through the Kwang Kao Nai Lari Na Chung Toi Ka the team they Trong Hu Vuk. It seemed too good to be true. But in a college town where studios cost triple that, I was desperate, willing to overlook the red flags for a chance at independence. My mom, Nora, insisted on coming with me to check it out, her protective streak in full force. We drove to the house, a modest two-story in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where kids ride bikes and neighbors wave from porches. My mom and I went to the house to view it. Decent house, decent neighborhood. He opened the door and was very welcoming. He was middle-aged, and the kitchen and living room were furnished nicely and clean. Greg, the homeowner, greeted us with a warm smile, his handshake firm, his voice smooth. Middle-aged, with thinning hair and a neatly pressed button-up shirt. He seemed normal, even charming. The kind of guy you'd trust to fix your car or coach a little league team. My mom loves to talk and get to know people, so they were engaged in conversation while I stood there quietly and observed the place. The living room was tidy, with plush furniture, framed landscapes on the walls, and a faint smell of pine cleaner. But something felt off, like the house was holding its breath, watching us. Greg offered to show me my room, his tone casual but his eyes fixed on me, unblinking. He then said he would show me my room. We head towards the staircase to go up, as I thought, since he said on the phone my room was upstairs with the other roommates. But he opens another door and we follow. He takes us down to the basement and opens a door to a very small room, no closet and no windows. I expected to climb the stairs to the upstairs rooms he described, but instead, he led us to a door tucked under the staircase, opening it to reveal a steep, dimly lit descent into the basement. My stomach knotted as we followed. The air, growing damp and cool, the smell of mildew creeping in. He opened a door to a tiny room, bare, no windows, no closet, just a sagging mattress on the concrete floor, the walls unmarked but oppressive. He proceeds to say, "This is my room and I will be sharing the bathroom in the hallway with him." And his bedroom did not have a door on it. I was definitely thinking, absolutely not, this is weird. His bedroom, directly across the hall, had no door, just a thin curtain swaying slightly, and I felt a chill crawl up my spine. This wasn't the upstairs room he'd promised on the phone, the one shared with other girls. Why had he lied? And why did his eyes linger on me like he was measuring something dark and unspoken? Greg's voice was smooth, almost oily, as he explained the basement setup, gesturing to the shared bathroom with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He then leads us to the upstairs and shows us the other rooms, which the doors were open, and says they are currently rented. He then starts telling us elaborate stories about the other women, not very nice stories describing drinking problems. We followed him upstairs, where he showed us 3 occupied rooms, their doors conveniently ajar. The rooms were furnished, beds neatly made, lamps glowing softly, but they were eerily empty, sterile. I looked in all 3 rooms in the bathrooms. There was furniture, but not a single item in there that looked like it belonged to a woman. No clothes or anything, only men's clothes in one of the closets. No makeup, no shoes, no posters or personal touches. Nothing to suggest the female roommates he'd described in the ad. Just a few men's shirts in one closet, creased and out of place like they'd been staged. His stories about these troubled roommates, girls who drank too much, partied too hard, felt rehearsed, like a script he'd recited before, each word polished to deflect questions. My mom nodded along, engrossed in his charm, but I felt a growing dread, my skin prickling as I scanned the barren rooms, their silence screaming a warning. Back downstairs, Greg's demeanor shifted, his smile tighter, his words clipped, like he sensed my unease. "You'll love it here, Zoe," he said, stepping too close, his cologne sharp and overpowering. I backed away, my heart racing, the basement's damp air clinging to me like a second skin. "I need to think about it," I said, my voice shaky, barely holding steady. I was feeling really uncomfortable and started moving them back downstairs as they talked. I nudged my mom toward the front door, desperate to escape, my instincts screaming to run. Greg lingered, his body briefly blocking the path, his eyes flicking to the basement door as if reluctant to let us leave. "Come back anytime," he said, his tone heavy, layered with a promise I didn't want kept, his gaze boring into me like he was memorizing my face. In the car, I exploded, my voice trembling with panic. I said sure, and we left. As soon as we got in the car, I told my mom I would definitely not be living there. "That was a lie, Mom," There's no one else living there." She frowned, confused, her trust in Greg's charm clouding her judgment. But I laid it out. The empty rooms, the men's clothes, the basement trap that felt like a cage. He's not renting to students. Something's seriously wrong. She tried to calm me, suggesting he was just eccentric, maybe disorganized, but I knew better, the memory of his stare burning in my mind. I tried to report the post, but by the time we got home that day, he removed it. When we got home, I checked Craigslist. The ad was gone, deleted within hours, like Greg knew we'd caught onto his game. My gut screamed he'd planned something sinister, abduction, maybe murder, luring me into that windowless room with no escape. I think he planned on murdering me at dinner or abducting me and holding me hostage in that basement room that had no way to escape. The thought made my hands shake, the reality of how close I'd come to danger sinking in like a stone. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying his cold smile, the suffocating feeling of that basement room, the curtains swaying. In his doorless bedroom, every creak in our house made me jump, my mind conjuring Greg's face in the shadows. I confided in my friend Tara, a junior at my college who'd navigated the rental market before. Her eyes widened as I told her about the house, the ad, Greg's lies. "That sounds like a setup," she said, her voice low, urgent. She mentioned hearing rumors about weird landlords in town. One linked to a missing student the previous year, a girl who'd gone to view a cheap apartment and never came back. My blood ran cold, my breath catching. Was it Greg? I scoured online forums, my hands trembling as I typed, finding threads about shady rentals in the area. Some posts mentioned a middle-aged man offering impossibly cheap rooms, always to young women, tenants vanishing without a trace. The details matched too closely. Basement rooms, no real roommates, ads deleted after visits. One user claimed to have escaped a similar landlord who locked the door during a tour, only getting out by screaming. My heart pounded. I'd walked into his trap, and only my gut had saved me. I called the police, my voice shaking as I shared the story, linking it to the article about the missing student. The officer listened, jotting notes, but his tone was skeptical, his questions pointed. "No license plate, no clear evidence?" he asked, explaining they couldn't act without more. "Be careful," he added, but it felt hollow, like a pat on the head. Frustration burned inside me, but so did fear. Greg was still out there, free to lure someone else. I couldn't let it go. I visited the college library, digging through old newspapers for any trace of similar cases, my hands sweating. As I worked, a pattern emerged, chilling in its clarity. 3 missing women in 5 years, all in their late teens or early 20s, all linked to low-rent ads in the college town, all meeting a friendly landlord who vanished after they did. One case described a basement room with no windows. Another mentioned a man with no online footprint, like a ghost. It was Greg, I was certain, but proving it was like chasing smoke. Every lead dissolved, leaving only dread. Tara and I took matters into our own hands, driven by a mix of fear and fury. One night, we staked out Greg's house, parking her beat-up sedan a block away, hidden by a row of trees. His truck was in the driveway, lights off, but a shadow moved inside, pacing behind the curtains, a silhouette that made my skin crawl. We watched for an hour, hearts pounding, but no one came or went. The house felt alive, watching us back, and we sped off, convinced Greg was planning his next move, his next victim. Back at my dorm, I found a note slipped under my door, scrawled in sharp, angry handwriting. "Stay away." No signature, no fingerprints, just a threat that sent my hands shaking. I called the police again, my voice frantic, but they dismissed it as a prank, keeping the note as evidence that led nowhere. I installed a deadbolt on my door, slept with a baseball bat by my bed, every creak in the hall a reminder of Greg's unseen presence. Tara's friend, a computer science major with a knack for hacking, traced Greg's old Craigslist ad to a burner email, untraceable, but linked to a string of deleted listings across the state, all offering rooms for female students. The web widened, a predator's net stretching far beyond our town, and I'd walked right into its center, blind to the danger. The police finally acted, spurred by Tara's friend's findings and my relentless calls. They raided Greg's house, a month later, kicking in the door at dawn. But he was gone, vanished like a ghost, leaving behind a chilling discovery. In the basement, they found a locked room, empty, but with scratches on the concrete walls, deep gouges like someone had clawed for escape, their desperation etched into the stone. The room smelled of bleach, scrubbed clean, but the scratches told a story of terror, of someone trapped with no way out. My knees buckled when the officer called me, his voice grim as he described the scene. "You were lucky," he said. But luck felt like a curse, a weight I'd carry forever. Greg had slipped through their fingers, leaving no trace, no ID, no records, just a house of secrets and a trail of missing girls. The police suspected he'd fled the state, maybe the country, but they couldn't be sure. And that uncertainty gnawed at me, a constant reminder that he was still out there, hunting. Greg's disappearance didn't erase the fear that clung to me like a second skin. I moved into a dorm, swearing off private rentals, but his shadow lingered, a specter in every dark corner. Every stranger's glance felt like him, every locked door a potential trap. My mind replaying that basement's suffocating walls. I shared my story online anonymously, in a forum for college students, warning about Craigslist scams and predatory landlords. The responses poured in, a flood of near misses. Students who'd met Greg's offering cheap rooms, their instincts saving them from locked basements or worse. It wasn't just one man, it was a system, a network of predators preying on the desperate, the trusting, hiding behind fake ads and charming smiles. I started a campus group, teaching others how to stay safe, verify landlords through official records, meet in public places, bring a friend, trust your gut. It turned my terror into purpose, a shield to protect others from the trap I'd escaped, a way to reclaim the power Greg had tried to steal. The police never found Greg, and that absence haunts me like a ghost. I check news articles obsessively, dreading the day I'll see his name, or another missing student's, linked to a white van or a basement room. The note, "Stay away," sits in a locked drawer, a grim reminder of how close I came to vanishing, my life reduced to a headline. I'm stronger now, my fear forged into vigilance, but the innocence of my college days is gone, replaced by a hard-earned wariness I'll never shed. Don't trust too easily. Predators hide behind smiles, behind ads that promise the world. Your gut knows when something's wrong. Listen to it, act on it, or you might not get the chance to escape. The world is full of traps, and some doors once locked don't open again.